think we want to bring this a little closer to you. So,
is there a point at which it becomes too close? Like, say, for example, here.
I don't know. How does this sound, Ben?
I don't know. Let me know.
Okay. Well, today we are going to be going through each of our top 10 films pre-watching through the AFI's Top 100. Not exactly pre, because we
Have gone through a couple. One twice.
like
once
10,
or
like
two.
10 or 20. But we are going to be putting forth our favorite movies, and then at the end of going through the AFI's Top 100, we'll do this again and see how much our list has shiffle-shaffled around. That is a scientific term.
Yeah, I think I've heard just like a jiffy is a scientific term.
Let's just go back and forth. What's your first honorable mention?
Okay, first honorable mention is actually going to be a recent film. I was excited to put this one on there for a couple of reasons. One, because it's within, the 2020s, I think. Now I gotta go back and double check, right? And two, because it's a foreign film. My honorable mention number 3 is going to be Parasite.
My first honorable mention then is going to be The Godfather. It's not in my top 10.
Did you say The Oddfather?
The Godfather.
Oh, The Godfather. Yeah,
You
okay.
heard me right the first time. You were just trying to ask a question.
Yeah, I don't know. I would just love to see a mashup of like Fairly Odd Parents meets The Godfather. Like my next honorable mention is going to be a film called M, which again, dates wise, I'm going to say 1937.
Is that the movie that's M for Murder?
No, that is Hitchcock, right? M is directed by Fritz Lang, who is a German director who is most famous for his film Metropolis.
I love Metropolis.
Which is a great movie. M is actually the story of a serial killer. Shockingly, wonderfully, beautifully well done for a horrible, horrible story about a man who kidnaps children and murders them. And it's sort of a psychological deep dive into both like mob and group psychology, as well as the psychology of this man who is incredibly self-aware and knows that something is deeply wrong with him, and sort of this kind of this compulsion that he has to basically kill people.
How well does it handle the psychological angles of that?
It's been a couple of years since I've seen it, but I would say exceptionally well. I think things have probably changed since then, but might be a hot take, but I'm sticking with it.
My next honorable mention is one that's the most painful to not have in my top 10, and that's because I think of every movie, it's the one I had the strongest emotional reaction to, just in like straight up crying, and that'd be One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Sure.
It's the best performance. I'm hesitating to say that, but I do think it is the best performance Jack Nicholson ever gave. And I'm sure there's going to be a comment that's like, what about? And I'll be like, fucking yeah. But for me now, it's his best performance. Yeah. And it's also probably my favorite villain in Nurse Ratched. Yeah.
So,
your next honorable mention.
Yeah, let's do it. Next honorable mention is going to be The Truman Show.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know your love of that movie. I thought it was going to be in your top 10.
No, it's not in my top 10. And I sometimes critically, some of the things that I have in my honorable mentions are probably higher regarded than some of the films that I have in my top 10. But if I'm going purely based off of the films that I enjoy most and the films that mean the most nostalgically or sentimentally to me and that have, sort of a rewatchability factor. So Truman Show, unbelievable. Speaking of great performances, Jim Carrey, yeah.
I love that movie too.
Incredible.
My final honorable mention is Fargo.
Oh, wow.
I love Fargo. I think it's a great movie. I think I don't know the actress's name, but the performance from the pregnant actress is awesome.
Have to look it up.
She's not actually pregnant. I meant the pregnant character. And in terms of dating someone from the Midwest, it has only gotten funnier and funnier as time has gone on.
No, but Wade, see, I was bringing you this deal for you to loan me the money to put in. It's my deal here, see?
I generally don't love the Coen brothers as much as a lot of people.
Really?
But that movie I consider basically perfect. Like, it's so funny, it's so gory, it's so terrifying at parts in some ways. But I think that brings us into our actual top 10.
Sure it does.
And as the back and forth has gone, that is your official number 10.
Oh,
and this is going on the internet.
All right.
That means it's forever. You can't change your mind.
Yeah, that's the whole premise of this is that we're probably going to change our mind when we finish the AFI.
You never can change your mind.
All right. Okay, so from here to eternity, these are my top 10 films regardless of anything that I see going forward. My number 10 is a fan favorite and a family favorite for me. and we've already reviewed it. It is Singin' in the Rain.
Yes.
I love that movie. I love the Technicolor. I love Gene Kelly, even though he's an asshole. I love the singing. I love the dancing. Watching someone run up a wall 3 times in a row and and be bedridden for multiple days because they were so physically exhausted. Yeah, I'll never get tired of that.
It's outstanding. What a great first pick.
Oh, thank you.
Mine is tonally very similar.
Okay.
I think you'll actually be like, oh, this is like the sister film to that. Yeah, my number 10 is The Thing.
That was a good misdirect.
I have to have John Carpenter in my top 10 because I love John Carpenter. I couldn't have Halloween because Halloween technically is not very impressive. But in terms of a technically impressive John Carpenter film that's basically perfect, I still consider it the best horror movie ever made. Not the best sci-fi, but the best horror. The Thing is just tension from beginning to end. It's got incredible performances, remarkable characters, the best practical effects I think I've still ever seen.
Wow. I'll go ahead and say this. I feel really good about our top 10 picks, or our number 10 picks, just because it's nice to have essentially a horror film or a thriller movie and a musical, 2 things which are not overly represented in the AFI Top 100.
Oh yeah, fuck all the snobbery like against comedies and stuff. I'll put whatever in my top 10.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, Daniel.
Yeah.
Can I share my number 9?
Yes.
My number 9 pick is the Marx Brothers film, A Night at the Opera. I love that film so much. It is something that I watched when I was a little kid. It is one of my grandfather's favorite movies. It is one of my mom's favorite movies. The Marx Brothers is where I get a lot of my humor from when I'm interacting with our friends. It's also hugely influential on a lot of the humor from The Simpsons, TV shows, are just basically ripping from the Marx Brothers. That is where, if you want a little quick history lesson in comedy, go and do yourself a favor and watch some of the Marx Brothers films. They are so good, and A Night at the Opera is so charming and has musical elements and just is beautifully shot, and I never get tired of the gags. And yeah, wow. I love those films so much.
My number 9, again,
Totally very similar.
Princess Mononoke. It's my top 2. I know Howl's Moving Castle is another really popular pick. That one is probably my top 15. But for me, this is the first Ghibli I ever watched as a kid. Had a tremendous impact on me in my love of fantasy. And it also ignited a love for just the artistry of animation that I've recently rekindled in my life. And I think its themes especially are what make the movie special, because it's talking about the progression of mankind, our relationship with nature, spirits, finding, and it's not so cut and dry as to just say, industrialization bad, everything else good. There's such humanity in the people that are on the other side.
Yes.
And I think it's
excellent.
Their second best film, but I know that is something that I say and is going to make a lot of people mad because they're going to say, Poño, Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro. And I agree.
Away.
All of them are separated by a hair's breadth in quality.
Castle in the Sky, Porco Rosso, they're beautiful movies.
The only one I shit on is their Wizardiverse adaptation, but that's for another video and another time.
Yeah, I haven't. To be honest, I haven't really bothered with that one, and I've seen a lot of Studio Ghibli films.
Yeah.
I'm saying that kind of just to cover our bases. Like, I figure if you say Ghibli and I say Ghibli, we can't both be wrong.
I'm gonna pronounce it Jublé.
Oh, okay, like Bublé, like Michael Bublé.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And so it's got that beautiful balance, and
It doesn't seem like a cut and dry kind of this side good, that side bad sort of scenario.
And that's the overarching compliment I have for Princess Mononoke. It's one of the best balanced films I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In terms of pacing, animate, everything. It's just balanced. But that takes us to your number 8.
Number 8. Oh, number 8 is a popcorn buddy film classic that I love. It is also on our AFI Top 100. Can't wait to see it. It is 2 of my favorite actors. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, a 70s Western with Paul Newman and Robert Redford at their peak. I love watching them. I love it. It's so much fun to watch. It's so much fun to see these two just being hounded by a posse of people who are tired of being exploited by this band of, Butch Cassidy's hole-in-the-wall gang, and Sundance Kid being this sort of strong, silent type. Just an all-time favorite for me.
I love that you chose that. And here's how good Butch Cassidy the Sundance Kid is. I hate Westerns. I viscerally hate Westerns.
Interesting.
But Butch Cassidy the Sundance Kid is so good. I fucking love that movie. Yes. And it's because it transcends the genre of Western and is just a quality film. And it also is a gorgeous film.
It is beautiful.
It takes advantage of just how beautiful that part of the country it was shot in. I assume it was shot actually in the part I don't know where it was shot.
Most likely
They
it's California.
faked it being in where the West is really well, if not. I always hesitate to see that because I'll say that and then someone's like, actually, they shot it in Romania. And I'm like, oh. You ready for my number 8?
I sure am.
I really don't know if you've seen this. City of God.
Oh my... Yes, I have. Yeah.
Is it in your honorable mentions?
We've already covered 2 things. We've overlapped twice now.
Good.
Yeah.
That is pretty much a perfect film, and it'll make you feel terrible. What do you have to say about City of God?
It is, I think, thematically one of my favorite things about City of God. I love the idea of taking 2 characters who are from the same area, who start off in the same world and have dramatically different, and their paths just go in dramatically different ways.
It's the most human film on my list.
Yeah.
Because it is just about the experience and life of 2 different kids and how they grow and deal with living in the world and the cards they're dealt. And one of them's a monster, but he's a monster in a way where you watch him from when he's a kid. And so your part of you is like feeling really bad for this person who's doing the worst things.
Yeah.
And there's the one who's more successful. And it's so well structured too, because I love how you talk about like it's 2 different narratives, and it really is. But the balance of how that structure is delivered to the audience, like even in the good moments for the character who's succeeding, you feel this pain of knowing what he's left and what the other people are going through. It's relentless in how brutal but honest it shows things happen in this country, in the real world. And we've heard the stories, like things like this do happen in the world. And it isn't, it's the opposite of fantasy. I don't know if there's a word from that, but it's like, reality. This is the world you've blocked out to try not to think about every day, but does exist every day in this world. Think about it. And that just, it's got a sting to it that no other movie on my list does.
Yeah.
What's your number 7?
That is a great question because honestly...
You don't remember?
No, because now... So my number 7 was Princess Mononoke. Mm-hmm. So we overlapped on that.
Oh, then I'll just do my number 7 if you don't mind.
All right.
Spirited Away.
Nice.
Yep.
Wow.
My number 7 would be Spirited Away, which I think is incredibly different from Princess Mononoke from being from the same studio.
Wait, so you're putting... Okay, now that I think is a hot take, that you have Spirited Away above Princess Mononoke and Howl's Moving Castle and some other of his films.
See, I prefer Spirited Away for the emotion it makes me feel, because I find myself, and this is something I felt as a kid, and I was afraid as I rewatched it more as an adult, I would feel less and less. But even rewatching Spirited Away as an adult, I find myself emotionally connecting to this little girl and her situation, her anxiety, her behavior, the same I did when I was young. And it's because I think this is the best portrayal of a child character I've ever seen. Yeah. Where she is, more so than an adult, willing to accept the crazy reality around her because she's a kid. And she's just going to roll with it in a very believable way.
And she's like, all right, I guess I'm in the spirit world now. How do I exist? How do I go forward?
Which is a very, there's still this concern you have for her as an adult watching this movie.
Because she is a kid at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, if you want to ever do a series, do a deep dive on strong female characters, Miyazaki is a great place to start. So many of his movies follow a young girl who has autonomy, who is making her own choices and who is navigating the world despite a lot of things going against them.
Now does your number 6?
Yeah, let's do number 6 for me is Silence of the Lambs.
That's on my list too.
Nice.
I won't tell you what place, but we'll get there. That's a great fucking pick, in my opinion.
In my humble, non-biased opinion.
Yeah.
I love Silence of the Lambs, and this is someone who is not a huge horror buff, someone who isn't really into horror films. That is sort of one of the first movies that I saw that was a psychological thriller that I could not only tolerate, that thrilled me to the point of not wanting to turn it off, but also was just the perfect combination of story and incredible acting, and also it just keeps me on the edge of my seat. Mm-hmm. I am just genuinely
it's a landmark film for many reasons, but I also think for not only the genre of horror, there's just idea of suspense in a movie. It did something that just made so many people realize we can go so much further. And it's in Anthony Hopkins' performance, it's in that scene, it's in the scenes where you're just watching Buffalo Bill be Buffalo Bill. Yeah. My only critique of this movie, and I have it even higher in my list, Jodie Foster's performance is amazing, but she is one of those actresses where I'm never not being like, you're Jodie Foster.
Right.
Every time. But yeah, I think it's still my favorite serial killer based movie, hands down. And it's also definitely the most, I wouldn't say the best villain on our list because we Nurse Ratched, but I would say the most.
Say number 2.
I would say the most terrifying villain.
Yeah. Speaking of actors who I love but can't, I just physically can't bring myself to not imagine them as like the actor themselves and not the person they're playing.
Right.
Samuel L. Jackson. I love him, but every film that I watch him in, it doesn't matter how incredible his performance is. I'm like, oh, you're Samuel L. Jackson. Oh, that's weird. Why are you walking down the street? Why are you a Jedi?
My number 6 actually is tonally somewhat in the ballpark, and I'm being serious.
You say Field of Dreams, I'm gonna kill you.
Alien.
Oh, God, yes.
Alien.
Oh, I love this. Okay.
Alien is, I'm a big sci-fi nerd, I'm a big horror nerd, and it's the best meeting of those two genres that's ever existed.
It's a beautiful marriage.
It's also the best protagonist the horror genre's ever seen.
Yes.
I would argue it's the best protagonist the sci-fi genre's ever seen, and it does not have a single second I would cut out of it. Great usage of practical effects. I think Alien is genuinely perfect. I think we've entered the point in both of our lists where we should consider the films perfect. Like,
yeah.
I do not have a criticism of Alien. And I the android twist, I mean, maybe I would be more obvious when I watched it when I was older. But when I was young and I watched it, surprised the hell out of me.
I also, the android in that movie is a shockingly human character because he has that
which was
kind
different
of,
at the time.
Yeah. It was nice to see, like, because he has this sort of unique thing that I think all humans also feel, which is we don't understand the alien, but the android knows that it is a physically perfect creature.
Yes.
And so having this sort of combination, this really common sort of combination of feelings of like, I'm terrified because it is so intimidating, kind of like this, such an intimidating, perfect, I don't understand it, but I want to kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, and also just great performances in that film.
So transitioning into our top 5.
Yeah, we're getting there.
What's your number 5, Noah?
My number 5 is Casablanca.
Oh, amazing pick.
Yeah, shot at the same time as Citizen Kane, but in this person's humble opinion, a little bit better. Not that Citizen Kane didn't do a lot for filming as a whole.
Well, yeah, but saying something did a lot for film doesn't make it your favorite. This is your favorite.
This is my list, and if it's my list, this is like the noir film for me. I think some people might argue Maltese Falcon, which stars the same fucking actor whose name I can't remember, even though he's one of the...
Adam Sandler.
Yes, Adam Sandler, famously the lead character in Casablanca and Maltese Falcon. He and Ingrid Bergman, who I'm just saying that confidently, I'm pretty sure is the actress. It is the perfect noir film. It's a great love story. It has so many iconic quotes, and I will never get tired of watching it.
I actually would maybe argue I like Maltese Falcon as much, but splitting hairs.
Yeah.
I do love me some noir. Though if we're talking about noir, oh God, please tell me it happens to be next. Fuck, it's not. Well, I'll talk about none. You're done?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I have nothing more to really add to Casablanca. I just love that film.
I thought this would be in your top 10, and I'm surprised you haven't said it yet.
Okay.
Jurassic Park.
No, that was in my honorable mentions.
Okay. If it's possible for a movie to be carried into the top 10 by music, it's Jurassic Park. And I think it's a great film on almost every other possible metric you can measure it by. But the music elevates what would be a great movie into one of the best movie experiences I've ever had. And that's John Williams, obviously. I mean, we don't have anything to say.
Love John Williams.
Yeah, you can't say we've talked about that
so
enough.
much.
And also, it's just revolutionary for practical and CG effects. It's an amazing, in terms of the art of filmmaking, utilization of the cutting edge technology for that day, but also showing something we don't see very often, understanding its limits still.
Yeah.
And pulling back and using practical where it was needed, and going for kind of balancing out that approach of, we do want to embrace technology. We can't make this movie without it in terms of digital, but it can't do this. So we're going to use miniatures, we're going to use puppets, we're going to use et cetera, what have you. And from the characters, their introductions, their development throughout the film, the way people are killed off, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
He's now been...
Samuel L. Jackson, why are you in Jurassic Park. That's weird.
It's also got great villains in the fucking dinosaurs, but
Yes.
also really good villains in this smarmy ass nerd who ruins
Oh, God,
everything for
Newman?
everyone. And also I love Sam Elliott. I think he's one of the most underrated leading men of all time. I actually really love In the Heart of Darkness, which is another movie I recommend people check out.
And Laura Dern. Like,
Laura Dern.
incredible.
She is ruined for me as an actress, and the reason I don't bring her up, because everyone, every time I bring her up and they know me in real life, says, oh, she looks exactly like your mom. And so I'm like, yeah, I guess, but now I can't look at any movie with Laura Dern without being like, that's my mom.
Hilarious.
They do look a lot alike. And I also think for this type of movie that's just a fun action sci-fi movie, one of the elements to those types of movies that's often just forgotten is character arcs. Usually you'll get really good character establishment, and then people don't really grow or change from there. It's actually one of my few criticisms of The Thing, and why The Thing is at 10 and this is so much higher.
Sure.
Because they take the time to really give, especially Sam Elliott, character growth and change through his interaction with children. Also, Spielberg is like the one director I trust to have child actors and get fucking great performances from them. And as we talked about when we talked about Jurassic Park, maybe the best action sequence ever with the arrival of the T-Rex.
Oh my God, it's incredible. I mean, so much of the dinosaur scenes in that film are amazing, and all for different reasons, I think. Because I think that first scene is iconic, just where they have to pretend to look at dinosaurs off in the distance, and just for audiences to come into a movie and to see CGI that at that point had not been done at that level, and for you to be in a giant like watching a giant screen and to see dinosaurs convincingly displayed on, like, incredible.
And I have seen movies released in theaters this year that have computer generated effects that do
I
not
don't
look
believe as much.
We didn't have a technical issue.
No, we were just, this is a natural conversation that wasn't halted at all for any reason. Because dinosaurs are cool.
And also, just to make my dad mad, I'm going to say Jeff Goldblum's amazing.
Oh, God, I will never get tired of Jeff Goldblum.
My dad hates him. Jeff Goldblum's great. You're wrong. Anyway.
Another actor who I love to death but cannot see as anyone other than Jeff Goldblum.
But I don't mind that.
No, it is, like, in Samuel L. Jackson's case, sometimes it really works for him and sometimes it doesn't. In Jeff Goldblum's case, I'm like, oh, wow, nice, Jeff Goldblum.
So now you're number 5.
Yes, my number 4.
I'm dyslexic.
Which is really nice because we have already talked about this one. My number 4 is City of God.
City of God. Incredible movie.
Do you mind if I jump up to number 3, or do you want to do your number 4?
Let's keep it back and forth. So I'll just do my number 4 real quick, if you don't mind, which is, well, we don't need to talk about it because we have a whole video on it. Fellowship of the Ring.
Nice.
If you
This is the least surprising thing that I've heard from you. Yeah.
If you want to hear our thoughts on Fellowship of the Ring, boom, video right there on my face. Ben, put the thumbnail over my face and then make it undulate.
And then make me grab it and put it on my face. My number 3, you're going to hate me for this one.
Okay.
My number 3 is probably a hot take given everything else that I've put on this list so far, but my number 3 is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. In terms of, let me throw this out there. Okay, since Daniel's leaving, great, this is good. Is it the perfect film? No, but in terms of something that I can sit down and rewatch any day of the week, and in terms of something that truly just makes my heart warm, yeah, Indiana Jones is going to be my number 3 film. I love Harrison Ford. I love the just swashbuckling kind of nature of it. If you haven't noticed already, I have a thing for popcorny action flicks.
I think I have a thing for Harrison Ford.
Well, who doesn't?
Fair.
And John Williams. I mean, there's really not much more. And just the era that it's shot in, the way it's shot, fighting Nazis, like what, and like fighting Nazis mixed with sort of the occult and like biblical mystery. I'm not a religious person at all, but it's just so much fun. It is so entertaining from sort of minute 1 to the last minute, and it's always a little bit longer than I think it is. There was never a second Indiana Jones made, and then the third one is fantastic. Yeah.
I have 2 questions.
Okay. I have
one observation, one question.
All right.
The observation is, I agree, if you're going to make that movie, Indiana Jones is the best you could ever make that movie.
Sure.
100%.
Okay.
I just want to...
Was there a question there?
Yes, I'm just getting to the question.
Okay.
I'm getting the question. I will just say, people act like it's the greatest movie.
And they're right. Anyone who has that opinion is right.
I just don't think it's that impressive. Like, I watch it and I'm like, yeah, that was really well done camp.
So we agree it was really well done.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. It's fucking got John Williams in it and Harrison Ford, and it's a Spielberg film. It's gonna be good. But to compare it to something like 2001: A Space Odyssey, I'm just like,
Is that
what?
your third?
No, actually, I cut 2001 because 2001. If we're making a list of like our most impressive or like best made films, yeah. But in
Yeah,
terms
incredible.
of enjoyment, my favorite, no.
Sure.
But my number 3 is where we covered Silence of the Lambs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm kind of shocked at how much overlap we have. I was not, I love it when we review a film and we have disagreements on it because I think it's fun to have conflict and to have differing opinions on something. So this is really nice. It's nice to be reminded like why I'm friends with you because I fucking hate you. So my next two, and I guess I regret doing this in some ways because I wanted to steer a little bit clear of the AFI. I wanted to do things that were resonated with me. Mm-hmm. But the reality is some of those films are on there for a reason.
Oh God, yeah.
And so my number 2 is Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
It is just in terms of sheer beauty, it is one of the most beautiful films. It is truly, in every sense of the word, it is an epic film. It is an epic length. It's over 3 hours long. The scenes in it, the way that it is shot, that just everything about it feels like I'm immersed in a World War II Odyssey. There is action. There's a compelling main character. There is an underdog story. There is beautiful shots of sand dunes. There is rescues. It's like Princess Bride, but in real life and not campy.
So my number 2 is Schindler's List.
Nice.
Which we already have a video on. You can check out here. We both, I think, agreed it's a flawless movie, and I'll say the most emotion I've ever felt watching something. I don't have anything. Just watch our video on it if you want to see more, because it's perfect.
Daniel, my number 1 is Schindler's List.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So that takes us to our number 1.
Your number one, yeah.
Do you have any idea what it is? We've covered it.
We have... Is it 12 Angry Men?
12 Angry Men!
Wow!
So we have videos on both of these. Do you want to talk about them any more at length, or have we said our piece?
Let's just do a brief refresher. It's weird to spend more time on the number 10 film than the number 1, but given that we've already talked about both of these films for 30 minutes apiece.
Yeah.
No, Schindler's List is an absolute masterclass in every sense of the word. The acting, the directing, the way that it's shot, just sort of everything about it is a beautiful film depicting humanity in all of its forms. Yeah. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And do you have anything?
No, I think I want to go off
12 Angry Men, yeah.
I want to go off what you said there about Schindler's List, because there is an element to the beauty of humanity underlying that movie in terms of the empathy, the sympathy, the lengths people try to go to save one another. Like, obviously, it's the most vile and evil film in terms of what the Nazis are doing and all this stuff. But I think you really said it well, that there is an element of the beauty of humanity. They're overshadowed by the evil, obviously, but you can't forget the good, because otherwise you end up hating everyone. Yeah,
but it's also, I think, one of the nice things about Schindler's List too, if you can say something nice about a Holocaust movie, is that it is based on a true story. And while the Holocaust is one of the most horrifying things that humans have ever done to each other, it is beautiful to know that there were so many people in the midst of all this trying to do everything in their power to help save as many people as they could.
Despite the threat to them, despite what they could lose, there were people who, even in the most dire situations, are always willing to go out of their way to help each other.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful.
But that takes us to 12 Angry Men, which is so much simpler than any other movie we've had in either of our lists. Mm-hmm. It is 12 guys in a room, aside from a brief opening scene in a courthouse and then a brief closer, and it is captivating, beginning to end. Yeah. And it's the talent of the actors, it's the quality of the writing, and it's the way it's shot and how it slowly feels so much more claustrophobic, the weather, everything. It's a movie that I have probably watched 6 or 7 times, and each time I take away something new, I appreciate an element of it, and I constantly, when I'm writing, hope my dialogue comes close to the level of dialogue in that movie. And the play is great too. Yeah. That's my number 1.
I think if I do say so myself. I think that we have excellent top 10 lists. I'm very happy with everything that we put on there.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to
Thanks
see
for
our
watching.
top 10s. Let us know your top 10s in the comments.
Would love to hear
down
people
below. I'm sure tomorrow I will be kicking myself over a movie I didn't think of. I already don't like that there's a serious lack of foreign films outside of Ghibli in both of our lists. I definitely think Parasite's worth mentioning. Old Boy from Korea.
Absolutely.
I'm dating someone who lived in Korea, can you tell?
Not to mention just 10 is a shockingly small number when you consider, I think both of our top 10 films, you know, we're not limiting ourselves to American films. And so when you consider the just breadth of films that are out there that are made by different directors in different countries, narrowing it down to 10 is really hard to do. And so there is, I mean, the whole point of this is to have personal bias in it and just what resonates the most with us.
And the beautiful part of this is we're going to watch the rest of the AFI Top 100. We're also going to watch a bunch of foreign films and just films we both love that the others haven't seen and go on through them. So that's the gorgeousness of this channel.
Super excited to do it with you.
And Ben, you're here the whole time.
You poor fucking thing.
All right, goodbye. Like and subscribe.
See ya.
Give us money.